Welcome to the 3Haunted podcast, where we bring you all things horror, supernatural, folklore, mythology, and all things that go bump in the night.
What's up, everybody? This is your co-host, Ashley Lunar Goddess, Gorilla Girl filmmaker and horror-loving cinephile. I'm just your average podcast-producing badass.
And I'm John Thomas. If it's haunted, cursed, or just plain weird, I'm into it. From paranormal encounters to horror movie deep dives, urban legends, count me in.
I'm BJ Sewura, an aspiring paranormal musician who plays live for the dead because the living just doesn't want to hear me.
What's up, ghouls, gals, and all of our spiritual tribe out there? In today's episode, we'll be discussing the ethics of energy work, generational healing, and mediumship. Joining us on this journey is returning special guest, Jillie Maria. Jillie is a guide and a healer whose work invites us to all remember who we are across space, time, and spirit. Welcome back, Jillie.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be back.
It's good to have you back. It's been far too long.
Yes, ma'am.
So, as our listeners may or may not recall, if they go back into the archives of our seasons, you came on to discuss mediumship and really amazing stories with us on kind of how mediumship has affected you with travel and just your relationships in life. And so now we speed forward. Gosh, has it been like 2 years, John?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, where are we at in life?
So, my skills have developed even more, and I have started my own podcast. I Love Your Weird with Jillie Maria, and that focuses very much on mental health, because in my opinion, we are in a mental health crisis in this country, and we don't talk about it. And part of the thing that has happened with the mediumship piece as well is that I get to dive even deeper into my weird. And I get to dive even deeper into mediumship. And I actually, in a couple weeks, I live in North Carolina, and I will be going to Eastern North Carolina to read a house that is 200 plus years old. Yeah, I am stoked. And they're also moving the couple that is doing it. They've already restored like 18 houses, and they moved this one across the street in order to save her. And they are moving another house that is much smaller than Bella. That's also circa, I think 1782, if my memory serves, to the same plot of land. And I think their intention long-term is to have it be a bed and breakfast, I believe. But coming into my mediumship and having things happen like accidentally, where, in other words, I'm not walking into things intentionally like I'm here and I'm a medium and it's not what I'm doing. I can do that, but it's been more of, getting a nudge to reach out to somebody as an example, or someone saying, hey, I don't know how you do what you do, but can you read this object, or can you, get a feel for this situation? And every time that you step into your gifts, you have an opportunity by default to deepen them. And a lot of people are afraid to even touch them because of religious upbringing or societal stuff, or people accusing them of being mentally ill. For a variety of reasons that are scary sometimes, to be really honest. I mean, I was talking to someone the other day about how when I first started my journey, I was very afraid of what my mom would say because she grew up Catholic. And she actually has been super open to it. She's watched me do light language. She's watched me clear a person. She's watched me do all the things, use all my modalities. And my dad, who I thought would kind of be the one that'd be like, okay, cool, is very much like over there. and honestly, and I want to say to you, if you're listening to this podcast and you are just coming into your gifts and you are just in that space of like, I want to encourage you into the space of no expectations, number one. Do it for you. Be curious for you. And let things roll as they will, because other people's trepidation, especially older people who are, when I say older people, I mean like 60 plus, who grandparents, great grandparents, elders, whatever, who grew up in very religious spaces are not going to have the same understanding that you did. And a lot of times they will be in a space of, oh, that's demonic, you're going to hell. Those are their things. And I want to encourage you into the space of breathe into the space of you have full authority over yourself, number one. Number two, as long as you learn how to take care of your energy properly, you're going to be okay. And if you don't know how to take care of your energy, learn. Because a lot of people, and here's the thing, a lot of people don't know how to take care of their energy. Let me give you a really super quick and dirty how to take care of your energy. Start by clearing your energy. As simple as like mock washing your hands. Like if you're in public somewhere and you have no access to water, I'm washing my hands of the situation. I'm washing my hands of the date of this moment. Shake your hands out and you're done. You're clear.
I am very OCD, so that helps me a lot.
Awesome. And here's the thing too, is if you have, I'm always if you have access to soap and water and you can clear, you can physically wash your hands, dry them off. Awesome. But again, a lot of us are in public. We might be coming out of Walmart or Target or whatever, and we just don't have that space. And anywhere you are. So it's not just the grungies of Walmart. Some people around where I am are like, oh, Walmart's always like, Target is far more bougie than Walmart. They both have energy. Every place in public has energy, has potential to have grungy people. And I don't mean grungy like coming out from under a bridge, hasn't showered in a week. I mean people that have energy. Like they hate life, they're playing victim, someone just died in their family, they're going through a mental health spin thing, whatever it might be. So my invitation to you is, again, wash your hands of the energy. You can also, if you like to play, you can jump around and set the intention that everything is going out your feet. Then you're going to ground yourself, which again, you can wash your hands. You can just intend, I'm grounding myself. Super easy, simple. You can also put your hands on concrete. You can put your feet on concrete. You can put your feet in grass. Then you protect yourself. And I like this one, especially for little kids, because they like to play, is just imagine yourself in a giant bubble. Like draw a bubble. If you're in your car, just be like, I'm putting a bubble around myself and my car. I am safe and well and grounded. Anything less than love is over there. As you get used to doing that, you probably do it for a couple of days, you're going to notice a shift in your energy. You're going to notice that, especially if you have people who are vampires in your life, people who suck you dry of energy, you're going to notice a shift. You're going to notice that people start to fall off around you, people that are the gossips in your world, the people that are, that need to always be like sticky energy and talking about other people and need to be Debbie Downer and all those, they're going to fall off. And the more that you take care of your energy and the more that you reground, clear, protect your energy, the more that gets to be a habit and routine, the cleaner you feel and the more you can shift forward without it being like, okay, how do I do this? Because again, you talked about being OCD. When you're OCD, you tend to be like, give me exact instructions. I need like 1A, 2A, and that's okay. Part of where that OCD-ness comes from also, and I'm not diagnosing anything, I'm just saying as a general pattern that I see with my clients and I see in life, tends to be somewhere in life where things were not under your control and you try to get it right. You try to get it perfect. And it's like, if I get it right enough, then I'm controlling this person or this situation or trying to keep things in some kind of order. Again, part of energy ethics is taking care of your energy first. And when you take care of your energy first, things shift. And when things shift, you get to a space of, oh, I feel differently. I'm in control. I'm in charge of my energy. And then you can make choices. Like, for example, going into a store or a space or even a situation where you go, your mind says, this is I'm not feeling it. Like if you're going into work, for example, right? And you've got to go to work, but you're feeling, go into the bathroom at work. wash your hands, ground your energy, be intentional. Put yourself in a bubble and set a one-word intention for the next hour, the day, the meeting you're going into, the thing that you're dreading. And it could be anything. It could be joy. It could be completion. It could be, I mean, I used to unintentionally do it like way before I was into woo-woo and all that jazz. If I would have a day when I was having a closing or a situation or like walking in when I was in service a long, long time ago, and we had like 30 people that had roof issues and I had to deal with all of them at 8:00 in the morning. It was like, and my boss would be like, "What are you doing?" Like, I'm resetting my energy so I can make phone calls and tell people that they're not all going to get the roast fixed in the next 5 minutes. But I would just be like, I am joyful. I am happy. It's Friday. Even if it wasn't Friday, it's a good day. And then I would just proceed to making my phone calls because you get to set the energy standard. And the part of the thing that we have a really hard time with in 2025 is we let other people drag us around. In particular, we let the news cycle, we let social media, we let things external to us affect us. And especially if you are sensitive, if you're a medium, if you are a practitioner of any modality, if you are highly sensitive, and I don't say this lightly, you have an obligation to take care of your energy. When you are in a space where you are, especially if you are trying to be a practitioner and a healer and hold space for other people, you get to take care of your energy so that you can take care of other people. It's along the same lines as you get to fill your own cup up so that you're serving from abundance and not like, oh my God, I have to do this. You don't have to do anything except pay your taxes. But aside from that, like, we think that we have to do all these things. And I'm perpetually telling people, especially like with things like social media, be aware of the fact that people are sharing their highlight reels. They're not telling you the gooey stuff behind the scenes. They're not telling you about the yucky middle. So be in awareness that you get to take care of your energy so that you can be well. That makes sense?
Yeah, I think there's a mindfulness too that if you are just kind of like a walking time bomb, you're not grounding, you're not guarding, you're not resetting and decompressing and all of these things. We're kind of out there agitated and we're not the only empaths, right? Obviously there's like how many in this podcast alone right now. So be mindful that our own vibration is going to affect others. There are other sensitives out there that are going to absorb and pick up on that. And granted, they're responsible for their own energy, but we don't want to be reckless, right? So it's be mindful what we're also putting out there. And sometimes you're going to have a shit day and it's going to be, okay, today's day just isn't great at the moment, but we're gonna rock with it. We're gonna roll with it, and we're gonna, like you said, we're gonna try and ground where we can. We're gonna try and reset where we can, and just, I hate to say it this way, but get through it, and hopefully get through it before the next day. But sometimes there are those days, and
there are 100% those days.
Yeah, and you just do what you can, but still try and be mindful of others' energies. I live in a world with my job where I'm around thousands of people, every day. And the energies are vibrating in so many different ways, and learning to not absorb every extreme coming at me because there are so many at those events. But what's funny is you mentioned washing your hands. And I will say at the end of the day, it is in my head, and I don't know why. It's just a natural reaction where I want to go back to my hotel room at the end of every day and wash my hands 5 times. I don't know why. It is literally 5 times. It's so weird. But I also touch a lot of money, so that's just gross.
It's not that it's so much weird as that we all have our own things. And I'm one of those people, like, when I complete things, I say it out loud. And I had a memory issue a long time ago that still exists with me to this day. So I'll say, like, when I lock the door, I'll say door locked, and I'll check it. And I will double check and say things out loud to make sure that I'm doing them, that they got done. So it's like it locks it into my head. It locks it into my head. It locks it into my head. And I'm like, if you need to wash your hands, there are some times when, like, and I haven't done it all this summer, but I did it last summer. I don't remember what was going on, but I just had a day. And I sometimes like it's just so sticky in the South that you're like, and you end up taking more than one shower in a day. I got out of the shower and I had just showered and done all the things you do in the shower and got out of the shower and I started drying myself off and I was like, and I was rubbing my hand on my arm and I'm like, and I got right back in the shower and showered again. And just was like, I just felt like, oh God, okay, I don't know what that is. And I remember that particular day I had actually physically walked into a spider web. And that is just the most feeling ever. But it was like, okay, you've showered since then, like twice. Like I showered because I had just gotten home from working out. And then it was just like, okay, and again, you bring up a really important point, do what works for you. Because if you're in a space where it's your energy, so if you're in a space where, you feel like you need to, wash your hands a number of times, or you feel like you need to, relock the door a certain way, or you feel like you need to, like when I'm traveling, like I'll be traveling this weekend and I have a whole set of different things I do when I'm traveling that I don't do when I'm at home. Because I'm checking my safety and I'm checking my, my parameters. And I typically have a rental car when I'm traveling. And so it's like, I treat the rental car better than I treat my own. And just all these different pieces that get to fall into place, right? So it's like, if it works for you, do it. And especially like you were talking about earlier, coming into being an empath and realizing how your gifts affect other people in general energy. If you're in a space where you realize that, and you said was really important, we push energy out. So if you know that, and I'm one of those people that, I have one of my friends that checks on me regularly when she knows I'm really quiet, because when I get quiet, she's like, something's wrong, which she's generally not wrong about. But it's interesting because I know myself well enough to know at this point when I'm crunchy. When I'm crunchy, I stay away from other people because I do not want to bleed on people who didn't cut me. I have an obligation when someone did not cut me to not bleed. I can be bleeding, but it's like if I'm feeling, if I'm overwrought, if I'm feeling some kind of emotion other than joy, I stay to myself. I let myself feel it completely and move on to the next thing. So, and again, this is really important if you are psychic, you're a medium, you're in your gifts, you are an empath, anything in that space. Really important to allow yourself to be a conduit so that energy doesn't stick to you. In other words, you're not taking on somebody else's sadness and then being like, man, I'm so sad, and being sad together, because you're not helping anybody by holding on to their stuff. You're just weighing yourself down, as opposed to imagining yourself as imagining yourself as a sewer pipe. So when you have dirty water, you wash your hands, that water goes through the pipe and out into the sewer. It doesn't stay in your house. And a lot of us allow energy to stay in our house. That is our body, our energetic body, our etheric body, our physical body as inflammation, as sicknesses, as illness, as dis-ease. We hold on to things because a lot of us have been taught that we need to help people by taking on their stuff. And one of the things I want to say with immense love is you cannot help someone who does not want help. If someone does not want to be helped, if someone does not want to heal, they don't want to grow, they don't want to change, they don't want to do whatever the heck they have to do, they don't want to get out of the pit, it's not your responsibility.
1000%.
And a lot of us as healers, as energy workers, etc., have a really hard time with that. And the thing is when you come into, when your eyes open up and you are awake, your perception shifts because you start to see all these things. You start to see the world differently. You start to notice how energy works. You start to see people in their rawest form. And especially if you happen to be a mirror empath and you pull stuff out of people without meaning to, like you don't even have to talk and you trigger people. And it's like, oh, I can't be around you because da-da-da-da, right? And it's like, and I've had people say, what do I do in that situation? What do you do? I'm like, I'm not being dumb, but what do you do in what situation? And they'll say, well, if someone is being a certain kind of way and I can't help them, you don't do anything. If they're feeling some kind of way, if I'm feeling some kind of way, that's not your responsibility. And as empaths, we have a really hard time with that sometimes. If we have trauma from our childhood or from our young adulthood that we never resolved, we have a thing where we're trying to control it subconsciously. And I end up telling people very jokingly, but also lovingly, you're not pizza. You cannot please everyone. And it's really important to take up for yourself. And when you take up for yourself, you're going to disappoint somebody, because here's the thing. We all are in our own play. And when you are in the play, you are playing a role for somebody else. So maybe your mama thought that you were going to get married by the time you were 25 and give her 10 grandchildren. Or maybe your dad thought you were going to go to an Ivy League school, get your MBA, go to whatever important business school and follow in his footsteps and take over the company when you were 35 and be ready to be the CEO by the time you're 50 so dad could retire. And whatever the company is, you have literally less than zero interest. You would rather watch paint dry. You would rather paint a house with a Q-tip than go into whatever business dad does. The role that you play, as you start to shift, change, heal, you're going to piss people off. And it's not that you should stop doing the role. It's that you get to be in cognitive of the space of, oh yeah, I was playing the victim. I was playing the drunk girl. I was playing the fat girl. I was playing the good daughter. I was playing the good spouse. I was playing the, upstanding church lady, whatever it is. We all play roles. And when you disrupt a role, you are also busting a belief of somebody's. And when you start to do that, that does not mean that you run for the hills, abandon your dream, and go back to playing small or go back to playing whatever role you were playing. It means you get to re-examine how you felt about that role in the first place. It means you get to say, okay, I'm doing this for me. And you're probably going to say that about 300 times in the mirror. And you're going to do it anyway. And here's the other thing that's going to happen, especially if you're in a space where you are awakening to your spiritual gifts. You are realizing that you have a belief that doesn't work. I will give you a very brief example. Knew someone about 5-6 years ago. She was morbidly obese and she had a heart attack. And she had a widowmaker. She was very lucky where she was that she was able to be saved. So the cardiologist comes in after the surgery and says to her, you are very lucky to be alive. You had 98% blockages. You are lucky to be alive. Somebody was watching over you. And so she said, okay, what am I doing? And he said, okay, so he gave her you're starting today. You're starting cardio physical therapy today. He's like, it's going to hurt like hell the first couple times you do it. He's like, you got hardware in you, you got shunt in you, you got this going on, you got that going on, yada, yada, yada. You have 200 zipper, whole bunch of stuff going on. And so she was on it. She heard the message. She was lucky to be alive. So she was on it. White on rice. And she released 60 pounds pretty quickly. And she changed how she was eating. And she was walking 10 miles a day. She was doing all committed to this life. She didn't want to die. She wanted to be around for her kids and her grandkids. And she had a thing where she was like, what the hell's wrong with my family? And I didn't know her whole story. I just was in a spiritual group with her. And she said, what is wrong with my family that they're being jerks? And I said, you're challenging every belief that they have. You are in the South. You are in a family that uses food as love.
Yep.
You are in a space where everybody's obese. And it's okay to be obese. You are in a space where everybody's in some kind of addiction. Smoking, vaping, alcohol, shopping, Amazon, workaholic, you name it. You name the holic, they have it in her family. And I said, you get to keep going because you want to be alive. And I said, their beliefs that they have to look at, I said, are getting to be octopi on their face. And when you get to the point where there's an octopus on your face and you're like, okay, and you got to look at it and say, okay. And she said, listen, you weren't the one that was sitting in front of the cardiologist and the cardiologist telling you that you're lucky to be alive. You almost died. That you had a widowmaker. I was. And so she says to me, how come I'm in the gym and I'm around all these people in the gym who are like, you go, girl. And they're watching me show up at 6:00 in the morning to work out and do group fitness and do all the things and whatever. And they're just like, tell me your story. What's motivating you? And they're watching her journey to lose about 150 pounds in due time. And she said, why does my family hate me? I said, they don't hate you. You're in a play and you're no longer playing the role of fat daughter. You're no longer playing the role of addict. You're no longer playing the role of bank. You're tying up all these loose ends of relationships, of all this toxicity. The people at the gym are cheering you on because they have absolutely no emotional attachment to you.
But I think it goes beyond that too when we're talking about that specific world, because I experienced that myself, not with the Widowmaker, but going through, a health journey and having that pushback from close family members and losing friends and so forth. And I think oftentimes it also goes hand in hand with the discomfort that people get complacent and they think, well, we're all in this. There is no way out. This is just how it is. We're stuck this way. We're stuck in these habits and we all kind of enable each other in, well, this is just what we do. This is what we are.
That part.
So when someone breaks that mold and shows it is absolutely possible, it is absolutely possible to change habits. It's fucking hard, but it's possible. It is hard to break the, all isms. It's hard to the comfort eating and the whatever you want to call it that's being broken. When you break those habits, that generational, ancestral habits that keeps
100%.
going line after line, it really does make people uncomfortable because up until that point, they thought it wasn't possible. And by doing it, you are a direct image and visual because you came from that same world, right? There's not the excuse, well, that person has other resources. That person came from a different family. That person has better genetics. Like, nah, baby, we're from the same pool. So again, really fucking hard, but possible. And I think that is so incredibly difficult for people to be faced with that and see that there are other options. And so,
yes,
yeah, I mean, kudos to her, your client, for, it's hard because you want the people you love to support you. You want them to not try and sabotage you, but they will. They will try and sabotage you. But ultimately, you got to say no to the second, third, fourth meal that they're offering on top of the 3 meals. You got to say no, thank you. And you just have to remember why you're doing it, whether it's metaphysical or not, right? We could be breaking an ancestral curse. We could be breaking just habits. But either way, because like you said, food is love. I'm from the South. I get it. When you said that, I get it. Because when my family's trying to feed me 6 full meals a day, I know it's from a place of love. And I know it's from a place that comes from scarcity, right? Because they didn't have that. But ultimately, it's like, ooh, but it's not good for us.
Exactly. And I think the thing too is, it ties back into energy because, when I talk to people about, epigenetic healing, and they'll say, okay, tell me more. And I'm like, well, we have this whole thing about how we heal and how we balance. And the thing is that you've got to go back and heal the epigenetic line because trauma goes to generations. And a lot of people don't understand the science around epigenetics and the idea that you can still be holding on to trauma from the 1600s, from another lifetime, from family members that went through stuff. And you can be in the space of also having an oath or a contract or a vow that you would take care of it, that you would hold it, that you would, be the person who would be the breaker, so to speak, the curse breaker, the generational line breaker. And in doing so, again, you're going to upset people, number one. And also teaching people how to really heal. Because I've had people say, I had someone was invited to a project to support healing of enslaved people. And the person said, oh, tell me what that would look like. And I said, well, we would do epigenetic healing. We would do a group healing around the epigenetics of everybody that's there, going 14 generations forward and 14 generations backwards. And the person said, okay, explain this to me. I said, well, trauma travels through lines until you heal it. And if you're in a space where you personally, and I always tell people, you always are doing your work for your own personal self first. So you're saying, I'm carrying too much weight emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually. I have an anger management issue. I don't know how to feel emotions because anger management is not a thing. It's not, you don't have an anger management issue. You have a failure to feel emotions issue. You just no one ever taught you how to feel emotions. And again, if you don't know what you don't know, you don't know it. And so
that needs to be on a t-shirt.
You don't know what you don't know. And so many people, it's like, well, if you never learned to boil water, you don't know how to boil water. If no one ever taught you how to change a tire, if no one ever taught you how to brush your teeth, if no one ever taught you how, if you've always grown up with Velcro shoes, then you have no idea how to tie your shoes. I don't know how to drive stick shift. I tried to learn when I was 16. I popped the clutch on a car I was driving, and that was the end of that conversation. But the thing is that when you are starting to deal with healing and you start realizing, oh, that's my mom's belief, or that's my grandma's belief, or we grew up, my grandma always wanted to fatten us up. Not my grandma, but there's, some grandmas who, were in that space of like, we need to fatten you up. Or like you were talking about earlier, the scarcity piece. You have to eat all the food or spend all the money because, it's going to get stolen. And, finding somebody who was having a conversation with someone completely random out of the blue. And she was telling me about how, I don't remember where that conversation started, but it evolved into, she had just moved to a new house and she felt very heavy and she wanted to know how to protect the house. I said, how do you feel about money? And she goes, well, I think we can always use more of it. I said, how are you with, like, if you get a sum of money, how quickly does it go out? And she was like a freaking sieve. And I said, who in your family, I said, the house that you're buying, is it an ancestral home? And she said, yes, 1800s, early 1800s. And I said, was it on the path of Sherman's troops? She's like, how did you know that? And I said, because people buried money, gold, possessions so that they would not be confiscated by either side, quite frankly. And she said, yeah. And I said, so you have a scarcity issue. And she said, oh my God, that's why I eat. Like out of the blue, she goes, oh my God, that's why my whole family eats. Because we may not have enough. There might be another. She's like, it's 2020, whatever it was. How? And I said, epigenetics. So we get to heal that belief. Like you can go, I said, you can go to the grocery store. She goes, I have 3 of them within 10 minutes of me. I can go to the grocery store. I can get food. I have money. I can buy my food. Buy anything I want. We have no food scarcity issue in my family. Trust me, we don't. I said, okay, great. And I said, okay, so we want to heal and shift that. She said, yes. So I gave her my card. I said, follow up with me in 6 months just for kicks and giggles and let me know if I could support you, whatever. And she was like, oh my God, like this whole thing, sent me this whole email about how much her life changed when she started doing this and she like stuck to it. And again, it's that space of going back into your energy line. And like you said, it is hard. I don't want anyone to think that this is easy peasy. Like, it's like, oh, I just went to the gym 5 times a week and the weight fell off, or I just took this pill and blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, it is. I don't care what road you're taking to do it. It's not easy. It is hard. And when you start doing it for you with the way I start doing things is you don't have to believe me. You're under no obligation to believe me. but I'm going to go run. Like in my family now, I'll say, I'm going to go run. I'm going to go for my run. And my family's got to the point where we go, well, when are you running? Did you run today? Do you need to plan that? Do you need to put that in your schedule? Like, it's just a question that comes out of people's mouth if they're around me. Did you run today? Do you need to run? Do you need to go to the gym? So there's never a like slapping or anything like that. It's just like, hey, what can we do to support you?
Oh, I love that.
And moving over to like being like gluten-free and like going over to, it's like people when I'm visiting, they'll be like, how can I accommodate you? Let's go shopping. And I so love that because I always felt like I was a burden and I was always terrified to ask. And let me tell you something. When you first learn, one of the things that you will come into as you start coming into your gifting, as you start healing your process, you will probably find that you are terrified of asking for what you need. And you're not terrified of the ask, you're terrified of rejection. You're terrified of people making fun of you. You're terrified of people being like, oh, she's difficult. And you may have grown up around somebody who was like, oh, he's really hard to handle, or he's difficult, or he's extra, or whatever. And it doesn't even matter what you were asking for. It's that somebody who didn't know how to stretch made you feel some kind of way because they felt some kind of way. And they didn't know how to handle their piece. And so when you start talking about things like, healing and like talking to dead people, and I always tell people, I preface every conversation with, you don't have to believe me. You don't have to. You're under no obligation to believe me. You can think I'm full of crap. And one of my friends said to me, I think it's weird that you do that, but I really love that you do that. And I said, well, here's the thing. It puts people at ease when you go, you don't have to believe me. You have permission to think I'm full of crap. It's literally a piece of information. And we get so stuck nowadays in this thing where we have to be reactive to things. We have to have a response to everything, as opposed to, well, I don't have enough information on that topic to give you an opinion. Or can you tell me more about that? And I have people a lot of times that will say, well, you're the medium. You should know this information. You're so psychic. And I'm like, here's the thing. I'm not in your energy because that's exhausting. I don't have permission to be in your energy. So I'm over here. You're in your own little energetic bubble. Tell me more about the situation. Plus, people love to talk and tell their story and love to be heard. Hearing people's such a healing gift. And especially when someone starts out with, I know this is weird, but someone has judged them for it. If they're starting it out with that, somebody has judged them, and it might even be you. Someone has judged you and you and you listening for the thing, as opposed to saying, this is so cool. Isn't it awesome that, oh my God, that's so cool. Isn't it awesome that you have a 5-year running streak? Isn't it awesome that, you ran your first Spartan race in tennis shoes? Don't recommend that, but separate story, different podcast. Isn't it awesome that, you found alkaline water? Isn't it fantastic that you talked to dead people and were able to help somebody cross? That lightness of energy. Isn't it awesome that Ashley works out and posts her videos? It's fantastic. As opposed to being like, oh, this is so weird. I know it's really weird and bizarre and that I do this and oh my God. Like the energy shift between those two things is palatable.
I've just learned to embrace like the weird word. I've learned to embrace like being called, because again, we can all relate. We're all from a similar time frame. Like this normalization we're working on, right? Towards normalizing the metaphysical, the gifts and the empathic, and just really normalizing that vocabulary. Growing up, it's, oh, you're weird, or you're odd, or you're, bad words. And so I've just kind of started to embody the weird thing. And I will let people know, hi, I'm Ashley. I'm weird. And they're like, oh, no, you're not. And I'm like, oh, no, I wasn't saying that in a bad way. I'm weird. It's good. Like I invite you to embrace your weird and just wear it, embrace it, and be it.
Well, I think the thing is too, is, when we get to a space, so, that's part of why I named my podcast the way I did, was because I wanted people to be in a space of whatever your weird is, let's embrace it. Because there's somebody, again, like you said, there's somebody that had their weird called demonic, or their weird called, bad for them, or, there's someone's great grandma when they were like 5 years old and had an imaginary friend was like, oh, no, you can't do that because blah, blah, blah. They're freaking 5. But again, grandma was so terrified because grandma was a Pentecostal, and I'm not slamming all Pentecostals, I'm just saying that, grandma was whatever faith that she was, and her faith was very much like you go to church, you have your rosary, or you have your Bible, or you do your thing, you go to church, you get all your information from the guy standing at the front of the church, and that is the only place you get your information from. So that gut instinct that told you to leave 10 minutes later, or that thing that made you go and double check that you shut off the water, or that thing that made you avoid the traffic accident, or the thing that prompted you to get off the plane on 9/11 and saved your life, or the thing that, made you late for work on whatever day and saved you from, the grandma that slammed into the local pizzeria that happened up near where I am 3 days ago. Those are all little things that are intuition. Those are all, I don't care what you call it, but the reality is that intuition is in our lives every single day. You can call it a gut feeling, you can call it intuition, you can call it, you can call it by its name. If you get chills, that is clear, that is clairsentience. If you just know like that is claircognizance. If you hear things like there's someone else talking to you, that is clairaudience. You're not nuts. If you see things, if you have flashes, you're clairvoyant. You're not insane. It's just how your intuition shows up for you. If you taste things that are not anywhere near your mouth, you are a clairgust. If you smell things that are nowhere near you, you are a clairalliance. There's nothing wrong with you. It's how your gifts are going to show up. And you probably will shift the strength of your gifts through your lifetime. Mine have shifted dramatically since I've come into them. And like you said, embrace your weird. Be in the space of there's nothing wrong with being weird. And no one's going to, and I tell people, no one's going to hell. Hell is a self-made place. I've been to hell in this very lifetime. I have been to hell more than once. I would not recommend it. 0 out of 10. And it's a space where, also when you're coming into your gifts, or when you have a lot of anger, or when you're trying to resolve family crap. A lot of us think that money would solve family crap, or this thing would solve that, or I promise you there's something underneath it. If you're in the space of, if I just had a great job, $1 billion, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, 1 million followers, I don't care. I don't know, whatever your latest thing is, that if you just had that, I invite you to go a level deeper. I invite you to go into the space of, what do you need? What do you get to have? And as you come into your gifts, here's the thing too, is know that you are going to, as you said earlier, you're going to shock people, because a lot of people grew up in a very religious space. There's a lot of people who have a lot of beliefs and a lot of stuff around how people show up. And I invite you to figure out your authentic self, yours. Not your mom's, not your grandma's, not how the family wants you to be, not the one that gets you $2 million if you just go to a good school and become a doctor, or whatever it is. What is your authentic self? What makes you feel aligned and alive? Not like you are protesting, not like and here's the thing too, is if you're running around trying to get people outside of you to agree with what you're doing, you're out of alignment. Plain and simple. If you are running around trying to get people external to you to clap for you, and you are not clapping for yourself, you're out of alignment.
And isn't that sometimes like a perspective shift? Because how exciting, right? We get excited to meet other people and get to know them, and like, who are you and what's your origin story? And like, maybe if we just take that same excitement for ourselves, like, who am I? What is it that makes me tick? What am I excited about? And if I don't know, like, John, what are you excited about? I was like, I don't know. Well, let's find out. Let's try shit. Let's get out there, because there's a whole flipping world out there. And yeah, granted, sometimes stuff takes money. It's like, well, I maybe can't go to Egypt right now yet, but what's in the area near me that I can explore? What spooky building is like possibly haunted near me? Because I really like, architecture and ghosts. I don't know. Like, I just think that oftentimes we get so excited because we
Yes.
talk about giving other people grace, right? When it's like, oh, I'm so hard on myself. If I give myself grace the way I do other people. And I think that can also be applied with when we're trying to figure out who we are. What's our truest authentic self? What's our vibrant colors? And that authentic self is going to stay ringing through no matter what our interests become or how we evolve. And so just maybe trying to find that same excitement when we meet someone new on ourselves, how exciting it is to get to know who I am and what I like and what makes me, passionate or not passionate. Maybe it's like, man, I've learned that I really like to sit down on the couch and watch, bad for me reality television shows and indulge in that occasionally. Project Runway is really cool. Hashtag non-nad, just throwing something out there. And it's like just knowing like what you enjoy. And if you don't know, that's okay. Like it's going to be fun figuring it out.
I think for me, it feels kind of weird to tell people like what I'm into. Like I've gotten to the point where like it's so much it's so much fun that when I hear myself talk about it, I'm like, oh yeah, I guess I do that and I do enjoy that. But like just to say it sounds it sounds weird, even though like I don't know how to describe it. Like I don't care like what necessarily how they take that information in, like if they, if they reject me or whatever, but it's just like, yeah, this is what I do. And I'm like, oh yeah, I do play the violin for ghosts. Like,
It's
okay.
great.
Cool.
Yep.
Love it.
It's something that gets me excited, and it's not like I don't need to tell people about it. I just like to do it, So
I love that.
I think we're waiting, like you said, Jilly, we're waiting for people to reject us or make fun of us. And so even
Yes.
now, we've had
Yes.
this podcast, John, for what, 6 years now. And
At
even now,
least,
I
yeah.
catch myself being like, yeah, I have a podcast. Or I'll be like, yeah, I have a podcast. And they're like, about what? And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
like weird shit. And they're like,
Weird
and,
shit.
and people are actually really nice about it. They're like, well, tell me more. And I'm almost apologetic about it. Well, ghosts and like the metaphysical, and they're just like, speak up. That's so cool. And I'm like, I gotta stop expecting that people are gonna judge me for it. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
give people the benefit of the doubt. And if they do, who cares?
Yeah,
And if
fuck
they
them.
don't, even better. Well, we don't fuck them, John, because they're judging us.
Got it. Damn it.
But here's the thing too you're right though, and here's the thing too is a lot of us don't share the things that we love because we're so afraid of people. So afraid of rejection. We're so afraid of being triggered, quote unquote, and we're so afraid of people being in the space of, I don't know how to relate to that. As opposed to saying, like when I tell people I have a podcast and what I do for, work and whatever, and they'll say, oh, that's really interesting. And I can tell the people that are like, that's it. And I can tell the people that are like, hey, can I ask you a question about dead people or houses or, whatever it is. And I'll be happy to help you out. And I do as much as I can. And sometimes you get into this space and like, you're right. There's definitely a part of me that's, when I talk about my podcast, I'm like, well, she's just a baby podcast. It's not Joe Rogan or whatever. And they're like, okay, but you still record a podcast. You still show up. You still do all the things. You still put yourself out there. And I'm always reminded of, and I'm going to butcher the quote, but I always, I'm reminded of the idea that, I'm in the arena. I'm in the arena and I'm kicking ass. And all the people that are not are judging for whatever reason. And it's really easy when you're in the stands to have an armchair quarterback opinion. That is one of the easiest things in the whole wide world to do, is to be like, oh, well, blah, 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 as opposed to, get out there, say what you mean, tell people what you do, and being in the space of like, yeah, I work kitty rescue, and I'm a trauma and emotion healer and coach, and I have a podcast, and I talk about anger, and I'm about to launch a series around, in-person workshops around healing anger and teaching people how to feel it, and rooting out some of our society ills. And I tell people those things sometimes, and they'll say, again, oh, that's interesting. And then there's sometimes when you have conversations with people and they're like, oh my God, tell me more. And they like need to know all the detail. They need to know all the nitty gritty. And it's like, what's it like to cross somebody over? What's it like? I had someone say to me, what's it like to time hop when you're driving? And I'm like, not on the list of things I necessarily recommend doing, but I wasn't doing it intentionally. I just happened to realizing it as I was driving. It was like, whoa, no, we can't do that. That's not safe.
So we don't text and drive, and we don't time hop and drive.
Correct. We don't do either one of those things, and we respectfully say, "Hey, we're not doing that. We're not going to time hop and drive at the same time because it freaks me out." And I realized I was doing it. It was like, "Oh my God!" And it was like, "Is that the same thing as the blue truck thing?" And I'm like, "Not the same thing as the blue truck thing," because I was completely stopped in traffic with the blue truck thing.
As a driving instructor, I really appreciate that.
So that's what we're going to do. Our message, my message, I'm not going to speak for you guys, from this podcast is stop being apologetic and about the things that I embrace, and because there's nothing to be sorry for. Hello, my name is Ashley Lunar fucking Goddess, and I have a podcast where we're trying to normalize conversations because you're not weird. You're just you.
Yes. And, the thing too is that, again, being in the space of how many people don't talk about they're weird because someone in their family has rejected them, or it brings up things for them. It brings up emotions for them, and they don't know how to feel and deal with those emotions. And so getting into the space, like, again, like when I started my podcast, it was like, what was your point in starting the podcast? I'm like, I wanted people to know, like they know, that they were okay to be weird, that it was okay to, like, I love all of you. Like I tell my friends, I'm like, I love all of you. I love your weird. I love your normal. I love your crazy. I love all of you. And, because it's like, well, I don't want to bother you with my I'm like, okay, well, tell me about it anyway. Like when people say, oh, I'm so excited. I'm like, tell me. I need to know all the details. I need to know all the details, all of them. And that kind of joy, when you see people say, oh, well, it's really silly. It's no big deal. I'm like, no, tell me. I mean, someone I knew like last year as an adult went on a Pokemon hunt. And I was like, tell me more. Tell me what, I don't even know what that involves. Like, what are we doing? Tell me. And I was like, wait, you mean to tell me that I'm in a forest and there's all this stuff that if I just went looking, I would find these geocaches and I would find this whole other section that's all about, like, literally it's all Pokemon. And I'm like, wait. And they were like, yeah, so you're running through the forest and doing technical thing and doing all the things that you love and running up and down stairs. And you think that's awesome. And it is. But there's also all these places where you can find Pokemons. And I'm like, I'm missing out on a whole section of life. Now, am I going to go on a Pokemon hunt? Like, I got invited and I was out of town, but I was like, totally want to do it sometime just for kicks and giggles, just to like see what, just for fun. I've never done it. But again, I want to invite you to be in the space of valuing your authenticity, because we are in such a space in 2025. And I'll be honest with you, I never ever thought that we would be in this time and place and be as freaking inauthentic as we are. And so many people are fighting their authenticity and using all kinds of things, which is a whole separate podcast, not even going to go there. But the point of fact is there's so many people that are using all kinds of things as, for lack of a better way of saying it, kind of screen fakes around who they are. Get in the space in your body of who you are. Learn your full body yes and your full body no. Learn what feels authentic for you. Stop comparing yourself to what you see anywhere outside of you. So any social channels, in the media, on TikTok, blah, 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 blah. Because most people are filtered. People are trying to get wherever the popular thing is for this moment. People are not aligned and authentic. People are craving, I don't care what you do for a living, people are desperately craving authenticity. And when I see people and they're just shining and they're so excited to, play the violin for ghosts, or they're so excited to, you know, like one of my friends does air guitar, and he does Ozzy Osbourne air guitar. And I didn't know this until Ozzy passed away. And he was telling me about it. He's like, I know this is really strange. He's like, but I just did this whole air guitar set on TikTok and blah, blah, blah. He's telling me this whole thing. And he's like, I had so many people that were like, thought it was really cool. And he got a comment or something. He got a comment from, I guess, Sharon Osbourne. And he was like, oh my God, that's just like the highlight of his life with the air guitar thing. And I'm like, that is fantastic. Congratulations. It's 100% not my thing, but I can totally cheer him on. I will 100% always cheer people on in their thing. If it lights you up, let's go. If it makes you happy, let's frickin' go. And if you realize that you're doing a thing that you're like, yeah, I've been doing this for 10 years and it does literally nothing for me, stop doing it. I watched the post on Facebook. Yes. And with grace and gratitude. I mean, they're like, what are you doing? I'm like, honestly, you go, thank you so much for the experiences. I'm out. I got what I needed from this, and I'm out. I saw a post tonight where someone has done the same race like a dozen times. Yeah, at least a dozen times, because she's been doing this since 2013. And this last weekend, she was like, I'm done. I did everything I came to do, and I finally had an aha moment driving home that I did my last race. And I said, cool. So thank it for everything it gave you. Thank you for every experience. And be like, yeah, I'm going on to the next thing in my life. Because we all have 2025 into 2026 and 2027 is definitely completions and tying up loose ends and letting go of what's inauthentic to you. And here's the thing. You might not even realize sometimes that things are inauthentic to you until you have another thing to compare it to. Until you do a new thing and you go, oh, I just realized that I no longer like whatever. You get to have a new vision. You get to complete your vision. You get to complete the things in your life that don't work for you, and you get to shift. You get to. You don't have to. You don't need to. It's not a whole twist your arm thing. It's I get to choose to shift.
I like your the home medium session stuff that you're talking about. I think that's really cool. That's what I wanted to just cheer you on about, because I think that that's exciting and it's something that I'm interested in too. So I mean, obviously when you're a medium, you can connect to it the way most people can't, and I'm sure that just is another thing, right? It's another thing that adds to it that just makes you even more excited to do it. So
How are they able to move the houses? Because you mentioned they're actually relocating the homes. And so my brain was like, logistically, how does that work? How do you move like a 200-year-old home?
You put it on steel beams and you roll it. I'll tag you. There's actually whole videos that they did a news thing on it. I'll tag you on it, and you can see the whole thing, the process of rebricking it and getting it where it needs to be, and the whole thing. And yeah, it's
I would love that.
It's quite a fascinating thing. It's quite a fascinating thing to watch that process. And I think that it's one of those things that, I mean, I'm on a part of a page called Our Old House Our Old House, and it's so interesting how people will say, "Oh, well, that can't be done." I'm like, "Yeah, it can." And it's one of those things where, as a medium, like one of my favorite things to do, I do love reading houses and getting to share the messages that the house gives, to share the messages that the people that are stuck in the house give. Because there are people that there was one house that I read about 2 years ago now, and it had indentured servants in it in the early 1900s. And that was a very common thing, was that people would literally sell their children into indentured servitude. And like, okay, I'm going to buy your kid for $15. When they work off their $15, they can go home. And a lot of stuff, very dark stuff, happened in some cases. In some cases, kids just would, literally live in the attic, and they would serve whoever the person was. But keep in mind that $15 today was basically like a quarter a day at 50 cents a day to, earn back that. So think about how long. And the thing is too, a lot of times is the family was wherever they were, living hand to mouth, and that went into the Great Depression. And so people would do what they had to do. And, getting to be in a space where I got to communicate with these kids and clear them and say, do you want to be moved on to the next realm? And they, yes, please. So I got to do that. And being able to give people, when I communicate with living people and communicate a message from their loved one, I love doing that because a lot of times the most common question is, are they okay? The most common question I get bar none from people when someone has passed away is, are they okay? And the answer to that question is always yes. Now, sometimes if someone has passed in a nefarious way, or if someone passed suddenly, they may be in a space of like, I need you to keep going in finding my killer, or I might need you to, I know it's a really hard fight because they want to give up and blah, blah, blah. Sometimes those messages come through. I love reading houses as well because you get to get history that you don't get. And I will always say, yes, I want to have a house moved before you demolish it. But the land also holds energy. It holds history. It holds sacredness that a lot of people don't realize. A lot of people are not in awareness of that. It's like, yeah, if you build on this, did you clear it first? And people will look at me like I have three heads. And I'm like, yeah, you want to make sure that you clear that first because it's not going to end well if you don't. But we don't have a lot of, we as living people sometimes don't have a whole lot of respect for the dead or cemeteries. And that's not where the dead people hang out, but you don't desecrate a body either. At the same token, you don't desecrate a body. You don't desecrate an Indian mound. You leave a house alone if it's got that much history to it. And I'm actually fighting 3 battles right now in different parts of the U.S. where they are in the process of raising houses possibly for whatever modern thing needs to be that they have to have right this second. And it's like, no, you're erasing 250 plus years of history. Let's not do that. Can we just move it? Like in one case, the whole thing can literally be moved like half an acre over and do just fine. Like leave the 250 plus year old house where it is and build your Buc-ee's next to it. You will be just fine. And when you are in your gifts, you will see things, you will know things, you will hear things that other people do not. You will get it when you first come into that. It will freak you out. As you get more comfortable in your own skin, as you get people trusted around you that you can share things with and say, hey, I heard this, I knew this, I saw this, whatever. I think I'm crazy, and it's like, no. And I usually, when people come to me with something, I usually give them more details and they're like, oh my God, thank you. But it's in the space of the more that you get used to it and the more that you get comfortable in your own skin about it, it opens up. And people will always say, well, how do I open my gifts? I'm like, trust them. If you are learning how to, come in the space of trusting your energy. And I always tell people, if you want to start building your intuition, I always tell people about the 3 cars thing. Ask to see 3 of your favorite, I don't care what it is. Ask to see 3, I own a Jeep right now. Ask to show me 3 silver Jeeps in 24 hours if I'm supposed to do XYZ. And and then if you're out and about, and it's like, well, I work from home and I don't have any reason to go outside my house, blah, blah, blah. If you are meant to see that thing, you will be dragged out of your house. I don't mean literally that someone's going to come to your door or whatever, but you are going to be like, man, I got to go get milk. Or gosh, I really need to go to the dump. Or gosh, I need to go to Walmart. Or, I need to do whatever. I need to get gas in my car. And while you're out, you see your 3 Jeeps. That is your intuition. And it can be that simple. And a lot of times we make it, the other thing that will throw people, we make it harder than it needs to be, number 1. And number 2, the thing that will throw people is expectations. If you have expectations about how your awakening is going to happen, I guarantee you're going to be disappointed every single time. because you've heard somewhere from YouTube, TikTok, whatever, that it's going to be sunshine and roses and you're going to be peeing glitter and pooping, unicorn cupcakes and whatever. And suddenly you're going to be living 5D and you're not going to have any human problems anymore. You are going to be incredibly disappointed that you are still a human being and that life is still lifing. What happens is you get much better dealing with it.
So for people that are curious about wanting to embrace their gifts and or explore them more, are you open to answering questions from them or working with them? And if so, where can they contact you? Where can they find out more about working with you?
100%. Always happy to answer questions. I have a Facebook group called Awakening with Grace that is about to be moved off Facebook because I like freedom of speech. So we're moving it to school platform. They can also find me at jilliemaria.com, my website, JILLIEMARIA.com website. And there's multiple contact forms on there. So you can reach, and people do sometimes reach out say, I heard you and I just have a question about blah, blah, blah. And they'll say, what can you tell me? Can you give me any suggestions? Happy to.
That's so great. Guys, do you have, I know this time is like flown by. Do you guys have any final thoughts or topics you want to talk about before we start to wrap it up? Anything you're compelled to say or share?
I'm just happy you came on. It gets me excited just to hear the way you talk about, like finding your gifts and, just not being afraid, really. Just like, who cares what anybody else thinks? Like, embrace your weird and go for it, because we don't have a lot of time here, even though it feels like we have a lot of time, because yesterday I was, 21 and now I'm 42. It's boom, it's gone, like,
Ain't
and
that
so
the truth?
like, yeah, do whatever you got to do and have fun. And I want to know more. We'll have to do it again, but like, about all of these places that you go to and the experiences you've had in those places.
Yeah, I'd be delighted to share. And again, to me, sharing is caring. And just letting people know that, we are growing up in an entirely different era than our parents did, and being in a space where you're allowed to live, you're not going to be burned at the stake. And if you have some people do have an epigenetic stain where they imprint, where they died at the stake. Okay, let's heal that, so that you're no longer afraid to speak your truth, that you're no longer afraid to be seen authentically. Because again, that's so important. And I totally would love to come back after I get to go read Bella and
Yes.
share my experiences. And I think there's going to be more than just me there, because a few people have said that I've different old house pages and stuff that I follow. So can we join you?
It's going to be an event. Well, I can't wait to hear about Bella.
I think it is.
John Thomas, did you have anything you wanted to add?
I just want to challenge our listeners and myself, actually, to cheer more people on, even if it's just yourself, because I'm really hard on myself. I think I'm really good at you're not egging people on, but like cheering people on and, embracing all of their winnings, I guess, for lack of word. And I'm really hard at doing it for myself. So I challenge our listeners to cheer yourself on, cheer somebody else on. It'll make a big difference. It really will.
I love that challenge. Yay.
I love that.
All right, guys. Jillie Maria, thank you so much for joining us. It has been a phenomenal conversation. As always, I can't wait to have you back on to talk about Bella. And BJ, do you want to bring us home?
Absolutely. I would love to bring us home.
We're switching it up this season.
Thank you, Jillie, for coming on with us and just sharing your passion. And I hope to have you on again sometime soon. And thank you all for tuning into this episode of 3Haunted Podcast with your host. I'm BJ Segura.
I'm Ashley Lunar Goddess.
And I'm John Thomas.
And if you have any questions, comments, or episode suggestions, please feel free to email us at 3hauntedpodcast@gmail.com. If you haven't done so already, please like, follow, and subscribe to all our social media. You don't want to miss our amazing guests like Jillie Maria.
Also, don't forget to check out 3hauntedpodcast.com, where you can find all of our past and current season episodes, as well as guest information and all kinds of freaking awesome merch.
Until next time.